Hello, I'm Ann Bowers with Accounting Assistance Team. I'm a cloud accountant specializing in QuickBooks Online. I help small business owners and their bookkeepers save time, gain insight, and grow. Today, we're going to talk about how to check your credit report, why you should, and how to do this for free. So why is it so important to regularly check your credit report? Why should you care? Why should you spend your valuable time on something like this? Monitoring your credit reports can help you see indicators of identity theft, and catching them early is much better than later after the damage is more extensive. I'm a tax accountant, and I have seen the effects firsthand of what it's like for clients to find out that someone has already fraudulently filed a tax return using their information and stolen their refund. It's a mess. It's stressful and takes a long time for taxpayers to resolve. Inaccurate or unverified negative information on your credit reports can be devastating financially. If you find errors on your credit reports, you can dispute them. It's important that everything on your credit reports be as up to date and as accurate as possible. Here's what's important to know. As a consumer, companies pull your credit reports to see what your payment history looks like. They then use this information to make decisions of whether or not to provide services to you and at what rates. You could be charged very high rates or even worse, denied services. So examples of who can make a credit report inquiry. A potential or current employer, and this could affect things like whether or not you get hired, your security clearances. Utility companies also routinely look at your credit reports, your internet, your cable, electric, gas, your water, sewer companies, your cell phone service provider, your banks, especially if you're trying to apply for credit cards, a vehicle loan, or a home loan. These applications all require the credit reports to be reviewed. And if you're starting or growing a business, what's on your credit report becomes even more critical. This information can affect things like whether or not you get a free business checking account, if you can get a business credit card, if you can get a business line of credit, or if you can get business loans. Now consider this. During the past year, many business owners applied for SBA loans, such as the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the Payroll Protection Program, but not everybody received them. As part of the application process, the SBA had permission to run credit reports. Who do you think had a greater chance of getting approved? The small business owner with an outstanding credit report, or the small business owner with a not so outstanding credit report? And how many businesses closed forever this past year because they didn't have enough resources to keep moving forward? A lot. So you can see for many reasons why it's important to monitor your credit reports. So, how do you check your credit reports? And how do you do this for free? It's easy. Just go to annualcreditreport.com. Now be sure it's the official secure site. You will be entering personal, sensitive information, and this is a normal part of the process. What a lot of people don't realize is that by federal law, each of the 3 consumer credit report companies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, are required to give you a free copy of your credit report once a year, but you need to request it. And you can do this online, you can do this by mail, by phone. They have different options for you to do this. I recommend doing this online just because it's a little bit of a faster and easier process. But just know if you are not able to do this online, You can also do a request, and you can also mail in a request form. In my day-to-day work, I focus on what I like to call bookkeeping for real life. So we're going to actually go through this process together, and you can see how easy it is to do. So I am going to continue online and go through the process to request my credit report. So there are 3 main steps. The first one is to fill out the form. And again, we're doing this online. The second is to pick the reports that you want. The third is to request and review your reports online. So the second part of this is actually really important because you need to know ahead of time. Are you going to request all 3 of your credit bureau reports, or are you just going to do one now, and then 4 months from now do one from the other, and then 4 months from then do the third, and then repeat? That way you can get one per year per credit bureau and kind of keep an eye on things. I prefer to do it that way if I'm just monitoring credit throughout the year. That way, if something kind of happens, mid-year or third quarter or whatever, I can kind of catch it early rather than, oh, I'm going to request all 3 at one time, but then I have to wait a whole other year to request them again, and then I'm not monitoring on a frequent basis. For example, you may be trying to purchase a home, or something more immediate where you will probably want to pull all 3 at one time and make sure they're accurate and there's no errors that you need to dispute, because that would be a more here and now situation. But for just general monitoring purposes, I like to pull one every 4 months, and that way I have a good annual rotation through each report. The first step of the process is to fill out the online application. So of course, the site is going to have you fill in your legal first name, middle initial, last name, your birthday, your social security number. Also, your current U.S. address. Now, my military veteran followers can appreciate this. If you have lived at this address for 2 years or more, you can pretty much stop here. However, if you've been moved around a lot, which happens in the military, this section could take you quite a while to fill out. So just as an example, at one point in my life, when I was filling out security clearance forms, I had to list all of my addresses that I had lived in the past 7 to 10 years. And I had to sit down and think about it and pull some records and do some research, because the Air Force had moved me around quite a bit during that point in time. So, try to remember your addresses, this APO, AE address and that, service address and this, this base. It was a fun process for sure. Once you have completed the first section, the second part asks you, which report would you like to request? 1, 2, or 3 reports. So for today's example, I am requesting the TransUnion credit report. I have a calendar reminder set up so that every 4 months I know which one is next in the rotation. Here on the web page, it's actually displaying the common question, should you order all 3 reports now or spread them out over time? And it says the answer depends on you. If you are thinking about buying something big soon, a new car or even a home, you may want to get all of your credit reports now. That way you can correct any mistakes on all of them right away. If you're not planning a big purchase, requesting them over time might be a better choice. When you spread them out, you can watch for expected changes or suspicious activity throughout the year. And it says whatever strategy you choose, mark your calendar so you know when you can request your next one for free, because that's the key here, really. If you do it once a year for each one individually, you get them for free. If you find yourself in a situation where you need to get a second request, sooner than a year, then of course they charge you for that service. As I continue through the process, the next screen is showing me thank you for selecting TransUnion for your free personal credit report. Your credit report is just moments away, but of course first they need to verify my identity with some extra entry and also by sending a one-time passcode by phone. And again, down here at the bottom, it is reminding me that, if I'm unable to complete this online or if I choose not to continue, I can also do this by phone or by mail. And that more comes into play if you are unable to answer all of the questions, that personally identify you. And again, for my military veteran followers, this could affect you more than most people, because if you don't remember where you lived at a particular address and you get that question wrong, it may not let you continue in the online process. The next screen is having me confirm my identity by sending me a text message verification code. And once I get the code, I just enter it down here in the field, and it shows verification has been completed and I can continue in the process. So now I am on the third step, where I can print my report and then review it, and if I find any inaccuracies, I can create a dispute. Now you'll notice down at the very bottom of the page in tiny, tiny print, I'll read it to you, it says, "We recommend that you print or save this information. Closing this window will end the free credit report request process, and you will be unable to return for a year." So be very careful when you're at this screen of the process that you save your information right away, because if you navigate away or close the page or some other thing, that's your chance. You've lost it. It's gone. So just keep that in mind. Now that I've saved my credit report, I'm going to review it and check for any inaccuracies, anything that doesn't belong, anything that's suspicious. And if everything looks good, I will file it away and in 4 more months request the next one. And just in case you've never run a credit report ever, here are some basic things that they show you on your credit report. So of course I'm not going to show you my credit report, but I can just talk about what I'm seeing here on my other screen. So for example, they have a section that's just your personal information. So different addresses you have reported, different telephone numbers you've had through the years. You just want to eyeball that information and make sure all of that is accurate, because if there is a phone number you don't recognize, or an address you don't recognize, or an employer that's been reported to have been your employer and you're like, "Oh, I never worked for that company," that's the kind of inaccuracies you want to get off of your credit report. And I'm just looking over my information here and everything looks good. Then there's a little section that just shows you the rating key. So for example, if something is not reported or if it's unknown, it'll have like an NR or like a little X. And then it takes you through the different symbols to show whether an account on your report is current, if it's late, like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 plus. There are also different little symbols on this key that show if an account is in collection, or if it was a voluntary surrender, a repossession, if it was charged off, or if there was a foreclosure. As you scroll through the different pages of your credit report, you should see all of the any and all active accounts you have. So, if you have a home mortgage, or if you have credit cards, or if you have, any kind of a lender, situation that you're paying a monthly bill to, all of that stuff should be on your report. And you just want to kind of go through each account, make sure that that really is a valid account that you have, in your name, or that you are an authorized user, added on. And if anything is not accurate, that's what you want to, create a dispute for. So as I'm scrolling through the different pages, I'm just seeing the open accounts I have. I'm checking to make sure everything is showing that I've been paying on time, everything's current, everything's in the green. And none of these accounts, all of them belong to me. None of them are, "Hey, what's that? What? I don't recognize this account." Making sure everything on here is legitimate and that everything looks good, and it does. Everything looks good to me so far. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you found this information helpful. Feel free to share it with others. Also be sure to subscribe. Your direct support makes all of this possible. You can find more information on our website, accountingassistanceteam.com. We're continuing to add additional training and resources to help small business owners and their bookkeepers to keep moving forward. Thanks. Bye for now.